Everybody get your book. Get your copy of your book. Settle in. If you got questions, prep them. Let's all get prepared. You can't see in depictions of the funerary shed. I will go and look. I promise. I will be going to look. It's usually, this is a thing that I do, but since we're about to start reading. Hello, Pharaoh. You've made just in time. We were about to start reading. So as I was saying, everybody get your book, get your snack, get your drinks, get whatever you need, get comfy, get, an activity if you're going to be doing that in the background. Like, get yourself ready. Oh, previous link expired. Oh, okay. Here's a new one. We will pin this one. Replace pinned message. We have a new one. So yes, that is the Discord link. That is pinned. If you have not yet joined our little chaotic cave there of Paganauts, which mostly we chill. We talk about all sorts of random things from, questions about mythology can get asked, about the Odyssey, the Iliad, people talk about epic. There's a whole section for stories from Styx that I don't even branch into because I have not started it yet. We talk about stuff we read, we watch, we listen. There's a little bit of gaming. And again, as I say, I do play golf with friends, which means I get spicy. Knitting mittens. Ooh, there you go. But okay, let's get into book 15. Again, where we go, meanwhile, with Telemachus, because we've kind of not talked about him. Well, not seen him for 11 books. It's kind of crazy to think we spent 4 books with him and then we just go, okay, meanwhile, with his dad, we're finally going back to Telemachus. Ooh, fiber crafts going on. Very nice. I am garbage at fiber crafts. I tried to learn how to knit when I was a kid. Couldn't do it. Tried to learn cross stitch as a kid. Couldn't do it. Mainly, I don't have the patience for it. It's just not my thing. I have different things that I do that require, like patience and concentration. Yeah, Telemachus is now plot relevant again. The book. Pretty much. Oh, Sir Joe, I'm sorry there was no milk. Your expedition was in vain. All right. Now, I do know, at least already, that Mariana was saying that the opening lines in Greek of this book are apparently just gorgeous poetry in terms of word placement and everything else. There was a diagram put in there, but I was like, I don't know if I can make sense of this diagram, but apparently it's gorgeous. I mean, the translation is beautiful, but apparently in Greek it's even more gorgeous. I'm sure Mariana could go into even further in-depth explanation on that. All right, book 15. The prince sets sail for home. Get in the car, Telemachus, we're going home. Vacation's over. Now south, through the spacious dancing rings of Lacedaemon, Athena went to remind the hero's princely son of his journey home and spur him on his way. She found him there with Nestor's gallant son, bedded down in the porch of illustrious Menelaus, Pisistratus, at least, overcome with deep sound sleep. But not Telemachus. Welcome sleep could not hold him. All through the god-sent night he lay awake, tossing with anxious thoughts about his father. Now this is interesting, because remember how we met Agnes? No. We heard... So what's very interesting is that, contrast this to how Telemachus was in book 1. In book 1, we're only hearing about Penelope having difficulty sleeping. I mean, this is made very clear to us multiple times. Poor woman is not getting a good night's rest. And we know that she obviously mourns her husband. Versus now, everybody getting out the spray bottle. Telemachus, we're meeting him now. As he was contrasting to book 1, he has matured greatly. Because now that he has sought the info on the nostos of his father to try and know this father, he's come to better know and understand him, especially in his talks with Nestor and Menelaus, right? Because of that, he's now more like his mother. He's anxious. He can't sleep well. He's thinking about Odysseus. And we now are kind of emphasizing again in the narrative that this Kleos that Odysseus, achieved at Troy is unimportant now. It is nothing. It is gone. It is wiped. What matters now is getting home, is completing the nostos. Because now that Kleos is a source of grief to Telemachus, as it is a source of grief to Penelope, as it is a source of grief to other heroes from Troy. The interesting thing about Kleos, and if you read the works of Gregory Nadia, who has that wonderful book, The Ancient Greek Hero in 24 Hours, which I do recommend. It is an academic book. It's not easy, but it's a great book. He talks about how Kleos is both glory and these songs of glory, but we've seen in the Odyssey how these songs of glory cause people to start weeping. They cause profound grief to the people who are connected to them, whether it be the people who actually fought in the Trojan War or the wives and family of those people, right? You know, book 1, we hear the Kleos, we're hearing these stories of Troy. Penelope breaks down weeping. Telemachus doesn't really understand why, and the other suitors don't seem to care. To them, it's just a story, but to her, it's profound grief. We go and hang with Nestor, and he talks about how he lost a son in the war. There on the battlefield with him. It's profound grief. We meet Menelaus. He's breaking down in tears trying to hear about Troy and talk about Troy. And the only way Helen is able to get through a story is by essentially giving the ancient version of anti-anxiety meds to her husband. And Telemachus, who's now starting to understand. So glory and Troy is profound grief. And we're also again showing that this Kleos that has been achieved at Troy kind of means, Mary can't join us today. Oh, Mary. Sad. I'm so sad. Mary's got, well, yeah, your power went out the other day too. I remember Mary had mentioned when we were playing games, so the internet is sad. But yes, we see how much grief this caused. And again, if you look at the Iliad as being this picture of warfare, what we're seeing here in the Odyssey is the picture of the soldier who has come home from war. Think of like a soldier post something like World War I. Like, again, this is the conflict that had never been seen on this scale. It is tragic. Everybody is left messed up and changed by it. Even though, yeah, they got glory, you're kind of like, at what cost? The cost is, it's so difficult to try and talk about any of it. They weep. Bennett, stop licking the comforter, you weirdo. Yeah, Homer's, both his works are very firmly anti-war pieces. It's, as I say, it is so clear he's very anti-war, and both his epics reflect that. So yes, this is, as we see, now we meet Telemachus, and he's a bit more like his mom. He better knows and understands his father because he's been seeking his father's nostos, and so this is the maturation of Telemachus. Something with poppy seeds, it might have been. No, Homer is not Polites. Also, the parallel with the Iliad, Antilochus, Nestor's son, is there in the sleep episode. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. When we have an episode where we're talking about people sleeping, whatever, you have Antilochus, and he's the son who dies at Troy on the battlefield. And here we have Telemachus with Pisistratus, so we have another one of Nestor's sons. There's again, this understanding is we're pretty certain the Iliad was composed and probably also written down first. The Odyssey has a lot of parallels and like poetic parallels with the Iliad. And they're clearly being done on purpose. Oh, Apolemia, it's okay. We literally only did 10 lines. We're still at the beginning. Yes, for something where PTSD is a concept that's totally foreign and unknown to them, he's really good at portraying it. And that speaks to how much violence was in the age that he was in and how violence affects people. The human concepts of these epics, even though, yes, these are thousands of years old, humanity and these human concepts are universal, and it's part of why these epics also stand the test of time in many ways, is because we can all get that to some degree. Hovering over him, eyes ablaze, Athena said, "It's wrong, Telemachus, wrong to rove so far, so long from home, leaving your own holdings unprotected. Crowds in your palace so brazen, they'll carve up all your wealth, devour it all, and then your journey here will come to nothing." Basically, kid, get your ass in gear, let's go, stop dawdling. Homer is in the Archaic Age, so he's post the Mycenaean Age, he's also post the Dark Age, so he's not coming in until hundreds of years after. Quickly, press Menelaus, Lord of the War Cry, to speed you home at once, if you want to find your irreproachable mother still inside your house. Even now, her father and brothers urge Penelope to marry Eurymachus, who excels all other suitors at giving gifts and drives the bride price higher. We've got Eurymachus, who's been mentioned. Athena being so smart playing on him. Now, this fear that Penelope will leave, this is a fear that is shared by Odysseus, as we've seen coming out of the underworld. This is a great fear of his. He deeply worries about this. It's part of why he's, maintaining the illusion that he's not home, even though we know he is. Talking about the bride price. This is very interesting. The idea of the bride price. It's going to get brought up again when we hang with Eumaeus, and we're going to talk about Eurylochus supposedly paid a very handsome bride price for Ctemene, who is Odysseus' sister. We're not entirely certain this idea of the bride price, the way that it is presented in Homer, is accurate to the Bronze Age. It seems that he's writing a slightly more archaic age version of the idea of the bride price. Was there likely some version? To a degree, sure, because again, women are essentially seen as property. Marriage was essentially a woman passing from the protection and authority of her father to being under the protection and authority of a husband. And so in this case, when we're hearing that, Athena saying, oh, her brothers and her father are telling her, get married to someone else, again, we have not essentially legally declared Odysseus dead. She's maintaining that stalemate and that limbo for all it is worth. Good on her. You go, girl. She is absolutely keeping the status quo as much as she can. She's using the system to her advantage as much as she can, right? So because she's not under the protection of her father or even her brothers, because she has been married, they really can't force her right now. She would have to go to them, acknowledge she is once again under their essentially control to make that happen. But they will press if they have to. Now, are they? Obviously, we know they're not. We know the suitors are pressing, but we know that technically her father and her brothers have not, it seems, sent any info. Athena is doing this to light a fire under Telemachus's ass and be like, time to get home. Plans in motion, time to get home. We're going to be married in Greek. She's urged with kelomai, both urge and command by the men in her family to be married to Eurymachus. The Greek text holds the passive meaning of it. Yeah, get married to him. She would belong to him. That's the way Athena is describing it here. And again, this is all to get Telemachus' ass in gear. Like, let's go. You did the thing you needed to do. Now Odysseus is home. You're dawdling. Get your ass home. Ice cream instead is always good. Yes, spring break is done. Time to go back to school. Let's go. And that's a smart way to get his ass in gear, because this would be a concern of his. He's got to get back home and see what the status is. Leaving was a choice. It was a slight risk. Not as big as a risk as Epic the Musical would make it. But it was a risk enough that he knows he's got to be pretty quick. Is the bride price kind of the opposite of a dowry? Yeah. Now, while the bride would likely be bringing something to the table, yes, it's like the man is paying for her. I mean, it's the exchange of some sort of price for your bride. Again, the bride is seen as kind of like property. So a little bit of, like a reverse dowry. Yeah, Athena absolutely throwing fuel on that metaphorical fire. She knows how to get his butt in gear. The killing on the sea, we're going to talk about that. She's going to mention it, don't worry. She must not carry anything off against your will. Because again, if she does that, that means that everything in that house technically belongs to Telemachus. So if Penelope were to abscond with some stuff, she'd be stealing from Telemachus, because at that point she sort of resigned herself from being a part of that family. That would be a big deal. This is also echoes of what essentially happened with Helen in Paris, and we talked about it briefly in book 4. The New York Italian Athena, I know. It's where it cut in. She turns into like a New York auntie. It is like a business transaction, essentially, yes. But saying, if she carries off stuff, I mean, she's stealing from you. And that would also be a big deal. But really for him, the big issue is that all of his stuff will get stolen by anyone, because everybody's taking advantage of the situation and he's not there. So again, get your ass in gear, my son. You know how the heart of a woman always works. She likes to build the wealth of her new groom, of the son she bore, of her dear departed husband, not a memory of the dead. No questions asked. So sail for home, I say. Now again, while he would likely never usually think of his mother in this way, he has been hanging with Menelaus. He heard what happened to Agamemnon. So again, the story of Agamemnon looms like a ghost over everyone in this narrative. There's a reason we opened the whole Odyssey with the gods talking about what happened to Agamemnon, because that story looms over all of these interactions because it was so shocking, and it presents a very real, terrifying fear to them. The heart that is in the breasts of women. Thank you, Fagels, for not adding that bit. That might have been a bit much. The shade of Agamemnon learned from, not even my mistakes, learned from what happened to me. It's an incident that looms darkly over everything. It's part of why there's an element of suspicion of everyone. The misogynistic implications of it, I will say, the thing is that what happened with Clytemnestra and to Agamemnon was pretty unique. It's not often that happens, that the woman brings another man into her bed and murders her husband. It's like, whoa, that's shocking. Again, what happened to Agamemnon is shocking. So she's using basically shock tactics to get him to do this. Are there kind of misogynistic implications? Yeah, kind of to a degree, but she's more like, you've recently heard about this story. It was shocking. It's a terrifying idea. I'm going to use it to my advantage to get your butt in gear because just in case, I'm getting you to move. Yeah, there is an element. It's more like adherence to marriage roles. Yeah. So and granted, those marriage roles are not the most equal. It's true. But part of this is Athena is going for shock factor here. She is absolutely like lighting a bonfire under his butt. And it is true that, yeah, this is what women were supposed to do. Athena's not saying anything that sort of would be seen as like, how dare you say that about anybody? It's, hey, there are roles. And the idea that Penelope would want to increase the wealth of the new household she's going to is not totally out of the realm of possibility, but she's playing upon the fear of what happened with Agamemnon. Yeah, definitely a House of Atreus bingo tile. We're at Menelaus. You gotta talk about the House of Atreus in some way. With your own hands, turn over all your goods to the one serving woman you can trust the most. To the gods bring to light your own noble bride. AKA, give that shit to Euryclea, because we trust Euryclea with our lives in this house. Yeah, also, it's not misogynistic because of what Athena's going to say after it. Yep. And another thing. Take it to heart, I tell you. Picked men of the suitors lie in ambush, grim set in the straits between Ithaca and rocky Same, poised to kill you before you can reach home. But I have my doubts they will. Sooner the earth will swallow down a few of those young gallants who eat you out of house and home these days. Just give the Channel Islands a wide berth. Push on in your trim ship, sail night and day. Oof, really push it. And the deathless gods who guards and pulls you through will send you a fresh, fair wind from hard astern. At your first landfall, Ithaca's outer banks. Speed ship and shipmates round the city side. But you make your way to the swineherd first, in charge of your pigs, and true to you as always. Sleep the night there, and send him to town at once, to tell the news to your mother, wise Penelope, that you've made it back from Pylos safe and sound. Euryclea, true MVP. Euryclea is the goat. It's so true. Peg has returned. She knew you missed her. So we've given him warning. We've said, okay, here's what you're going to do. She's also sending him to the swineherd because that's where his daddy is. She's making the meeting happen. Because again, Telemachus and Odysseus are going to meet before we start putting the slaughter of the suitors in motion because Telemachus is in on the plot the whole time. Mission accomplished. Back she went to Olympus's heights as Telemachus woke Nestor's son from his sweet sleep. He dug a heel in his ribs and roused him briskly. Up, Pisistratus! Hitch the team to the chariot. Let's head home at once. No, Telemachus, Nestor's son objected. Much as we long to go, we cannot drive a team in the dead of night. Morning will soon be here. So wait, I say wait, till he loads our chariot down with gifts. The hero, Atrides, Menelaus, great spearmen, gives us warm salutes, and sees us off like princes. That's the man, I guess, will remember all his days. Rubbish host who showers him with kindness. Yes, that kick of kicking someone awake is in the Iliad as well. But in that case, it's Nestor who's doing it to Diomedes. Again, all these great parallels. Homer getting back at Nestor by having Telemachus kick his son instead. Homer's cheeky that way. At those words, dawn rose on her golden throne, and Menelaus, lord of the war cry, I love that epithet for him, rising up from bed by the side of Helen with her loose and lovely hair, walked toward his guests. As soon as he saw him, Telemachus rushed to pull a shimmering tunic on over his broad shoulders through his flaring cape, and the young prince, son of King Odysseus, strode out to meet his host. Menelaus, royal son of Atreus, captain of armies, let me go back to my own country now. The heart inside me longs for home at last. The lord of the war cry reassured the prince. I'd never detain you here too long, Telemachus. Not if your heart is set on going home. I'd find fault with another host, I'm sure, too warm to his guests, too pressing or too cold. Balance is best in all things. It's bad either way, spurring the stranger home who wants to linger, holding the one who longs to leave. You know, welcome the coming, speed the parting guest. But wait, till I load down your chariot down with gifts, fine ones too, you'll see with your own eyes, and tell the maids to serve a meal at hall. We have gods plenty here. It's honor and glory to us, a help to you as well. If you dine in style first, then leave to see the world. And if you're keen for the grand tour of all Hellas, right to the depths of Argos, I'll escort you myself, harness the horses, guide you through the towns. No host will turn us away with empty hands. Each will give us at least one gift to prize. A handsome tripod, cauldron forged in bronze, a brace of mules, or a solid golden cup. Yeah, we're gonna give you some good shit, get some leftovers cooking, and I could tour you around, you could get some more shit, just saying. And again, this is peak tier Xenia. He's being an immaculate host. Because Xenia, he's being an immaculate host. He's saying, it's like, look, the person who wants to stay, you don't rush them out. The person who wants to leave, you don't hold them back. It's about balance. It's about doing it right. Look, he's being an immaculate host. And yes, he's totally right because of Xenia. If I'm leading you around, you gonna get some good shit. And now that's what I call Xenia. It's so true. It's so true. Yes, and because this is Telemachus' first visit and he's the son of a king, like absolutely that adds to, he's saying, he's like, look, I can absolutely make this even more worth your while. But Telemachus, unlike his father, pre the Cyclops cave, who would have been super distracted by that, we don't remember why the Cyclops cave even happened, just like firmly resolved, Telemachus replied, Menelaus, royal Atrides, captain of armies, I must go back to my own home at once. When I started out, I left no one behind to guard my own possessions. God forbid, searching for my great father, I lose my life or some precious, priceless treasure from my house. As soon as the lord of the war cry heard that, he told his wife and serving women to lay out a meal in the hall at once. So, yes, telling you, Xenia permeates everything. The reason Menelaus is like, he hears that, and Menelaus gets moving even faster, because Menelaus understands this. He understands that fear intimately. I mean, consider, and so this resonates with him. I mean, the absolute tumult and violence of his own childhood. I mean, he and his brother having to run away from their own city because it was being taken from them, having to try and reclaim things, but then also continuing with what happened when Aphrodite mindfucked Helen and had Paris come kidnap her. They robbed Menelaus of a whole bunch of shit. This resonates with Menelaus, and Telemachus isn't even using it to get Menelaus to like agree with what he's saying. It's just this absolutely resonates with Menelaus, and it's also again part of why, yeah, oh hell no, you ate no second breakfast. But it's also why Athena described things to Telemachus in that way. Again, the fear of Agamemnon, but in this case also, if he's going to be repeating it to Menelaus, That's going to click in Menelaus' brain. He will understand the urgency. There is no way anything is going to stop him. Now, of course, Menelaus is, again, as I say, immaculate host. 10 out of 10 no notes. We're now making it for him. That would be even more personal. He really would understand this. Yeah, I've played these games before. Again, Menelaus knows what that feels like. He knows the pain of it. He knows it intimately. So he's like, no problem, kid. I got you. I got you. And he also understands that there was a necessity for Telemachus to have to do that to even come to Sparta to speak with him. So again, it all makes sense to Menelaus. He's like, got it, no problem. Yeah, we'll send your shit overnight. FedEx, UPS, you got it. No problem. They'd stores aplenty here. Eteoneus, son of Beatos, came to join them. Fresh from bed, he lived close by the palace. The warlord Menelaus told him to build a fire and broil some meat. He quickly did his bidding. Down Atrides walked to a storeroom filled with scent, and not alone. Helen and Megapenthes went along. Megapenthes, remember, is Menelaus's son by another woman. We'll say his bastard son. They had a serving woman who obviously is treated very well in this house by, his father, Menelaus, and even by Helen, which again I say speaks to Helen's character. And we also know that we've been arranging a basically double wedding for their daughter, Hermione, and then also for Megapenthes. Reaching the spot where all the heirlooms lay, Menelaus chose a generous two-handled cup. He told his son Megapenthes to take a mixing bowl, solid silver, while Helen lingered beside the chests, and there they were, brocaded, beautiful robes her own hands had woven. Queenly Helen, radiance of women, lifted one from the lot, the largest, loveliest robe, and richly worked, and like a star it glistened, deep beneath the others. Hearing Peg snores, yeah, wow, I know. The peplos is relevant, and it's a parallel with Iliad 6, where Hecuba offers a peplos to Athena, same verse description. Ah, very nice. Again, we get the parallels with the Iliad. So many. Then all three went up and on through the halls until they found Telemachus. The red-haired king spoke out. Oh, my boy, may Zeus the Thunderer, Hera's lord, grant you the journey home your heart desires. Of all the treasures lying heaped in my palace, you shall have the finest, most esteemed. Look, I'll give you this mixing bowl, forged to perfection. It's solid silver, finished off with a lip of gold. Hephaestus made it himself. And royal friend, Phaedemos, king of Sidon, lavished it on me when his palace welcomed me on passage home. How pleased I'd be if you took it as a gift. Yes, regifting was totally normal and not considered rude. Especially when you consider how great a gift he's handing over to him. And the warlord placed the two-eared cup in his hands while stalwart Megapenthes carried in the glittering silver bowl and set it down before him. Helen, her cheeks flushed with beauty, moved beside him, holding the robe in her arms, and offered warmly, "Here, my dear boy, I too have a gift to give you, a keepsake of Helen. I wove it with my hands, for your own bride to wear when the blissful day of marriage dawns. Until then, let it rest in your mother's room, and may you return in joy, my parting wish, to your own grand house, your native land at last." These are good gifts. Like, again, immaculate Xenia. Also, they rich. They rich. So rich. Oh my god. These are... No, it's for his bride. She weaves stuff for women. These are beautiful, very thoughtful, and lovely gifts. And especially Helen's is extremely thoughtful, and the fact that she wove it with her own hands, like, you'd be like, what is this? This was made by Helen of Sparta, a daughter of Zeus. Like, we are not fucking around with these gifts. That second honeymoon did get them some good shit. Also, all the treasure he would have taken out of Troy. These are rich gifts. It's so true. With that, she laid the robe in his arms, and he received it gladly. Prince Pisistratus, taking the gifts, stowed them deep in the chariot cradle, viewed them all with wonder. The red-haired warlord led them back to his house, and the guests took seats on low and high-backed chairs. A maid brought water soon in a graceful golden pitcher, and over a silver basin tipped it out so they might rinse their hands. Then pulled a gleaming table to their side. A staid housekeeper brought on bread to serve them, appetizers aplenty too, lavish with her bounty. Ready Eteoneus carved and passed the meat. The son of illustrious Menelaus poured their wine. They reached out for the good things that lay at hand, and once they'd put aside desire for food and drink, Prince Telemachus and the gallant son of Nestor yoked their team, mounted the blazoned car, and drove through the gates and echoing colonnade. The red-haired King Menelaus followed both boys out, his right hand holding a golden cup of honeyed wine. So the two might pour libations forth at parting. Just in front of the straining team he strode, lifting his cup and pledging both his guests. Farewell, my princes. Give my warm greetings to Nestor, the great commander. Always kind to me as a father, long ago when we young men of Achaea fought at Troy. And tactful Telemachus replied at once, Surely, my host, we'll tell him all. As soon as we reach old Nestor, all you say. I wish I were just as sure I'd find Odysseus waiting there at home when I reach Ithaca. Well, funny story, Telemachus. I tell him I come from you, treated with so much kindness at your hands, loaded down with these priceless gifts. At his last words, a bird flew past on the right, an eagle clutching a huge white goose in its talons, plucked from the household yards, and all rushed after, shouting, men and women, and swooping toward the chariot now, the bird veered off to the right again before the horses. All looked up, overjoyed, people's spirits lifted. Nestor's son Pisistratus spoke out first. Look there, King Menelaus, captain of armies. Did the gods send down that sign for you, or the two of us? The warlord fell to thinking, how to read the omen rightly, how to reply. Here Menelaus is called favorite of Ares by she shall not be named, aka Wilson. Is there a specific reason he was favored by him? That is oh, she's saying favorite of Ares as opposed to something like leader of armies. Because what are they calling him here? Calling, he's a warlord, lord of the war cry. What else did they call him? Like captain of armies. I think it's just the way that she's doing that. Which again, she chose to take a very specific way to translate the Odyssey. He's not necessarily favored by Ares. In fact, he's more favored by Zeus because he has married a daughter of Zeus, and as Mariana is saying, he's absolutely a good student of Zeus also. As he's addressed by Telemachus, calling Menelaus Diotrephes brought up by Zeus. He's Wilson. Yeah, translating Diotrephes is that. Wilson. I can't talk about Emily Wilson. I'll start screaming. Wilson, is making some choices I cannot fathom. Unless she's trying to talk Lord of the Warcry stuff, but even then you wouldn't say favorite of Ares. The connection makes no sense. Also very strange to link that. If it's Diotrephes that she's linking with Ares, that makes no sense. And that feels like a massive misunderstanding of the Greek, given we're clearly talking about Xenia here. Wow. I don't understand why she did that. I can't think of any reason why she would. It makes very little sense. No, I'm glad you asked. That is a weird choice. Oh, no, wait, it is favored by Ares. What line is the favored by Ares bit? Aria Philos. Is that where Fagles is doing like Lord of the Warcry or these other things that he's translated it differently? Or is it later? Because he doesn't name drop Ares here. I think he did it in a more poetic way. Okay. It's the Lord of the Warcry stuff. Even then, I guess favored by Ares, he's a great warrior. Where Menelaus is in doubt. Oh, so the warlord fell to thinking? The warlord fell to thinking. Yeah, we're doing warlord as opposed to favored by Aries. Likely, yeah, is literally loved by Aries. A warlord. He who is great at warfare. Yeah, okay, that one actually makes sense. She's just being hyper literal. And also, please remember, Wilson decided she would do her thing in iambic pentameter. She would keep it the exact same number of lines. So she's bound by the constraints that she put on herself. So in this case, because Fagles has not put those limitations on himself with his, he's decided to say warlord, which if you're trying to get the concept of what they mean by loved by Aries, warlord makes sense. I mean, he is effectually a warlord. They all are, really. So it makes sense. Okay. I will give a slight apology to Wilson for that one, and that we were misunderstanding where exactly she chose to make that. She's being hyper literal, and technically, yes, it is correct, but I do think you lose, like, what exactly does that even mean? He's a warlord. I will begrudgingly slightly apologize, though I still don't like her translation. But yes. Warlord, well, favored by... Yeah, and that to me just goes... Do we not understand that this is the past, and the idea of a warlord, like, was so common? All of these kings were basically warlords. So... Yeah, I guess. I think it treats your audience as slightly stupid if that's the case. Anyway, it's close, but I'm still squinting. Beloved by Aries, you're a warlord. He's a warlord because he is a lord. He's a king, and he is a warrior. And because just saying warlord, it makes more sense than warrior king a million times, I suppose. Though, yeah, fewer if you're limited syllables. That's true, but it might not fit the iambic pentameter. Regardless. Anyway. How to reply. I was going to say the interesting bit of that, of talking about how do you read the omen rightly? How do you reply? Unlike prophecies in mythology, as we've seen meeting Tiresias, which are pretty freaking specific and detail out, like, here's what's going to happen. Omens are just a thing you look at and you have to interpret, or get someone who can interpret. Usually some sort of soothsayer, some sort of seer, somebody who is adept at interpreting omens. That's what you need to find. So obviously Menelaus is like, well, I'm not a seer, how would I interpret this? Whereas we're sitting, because the big thing is like, oh, we have the eagle clutching the goose in its talons. This is similar to how in Aeschylus, in his Oresteia, they talk about an omen of eagles, which is what led to what they saw as the necessity of having to sacrifice Iphigenia, the daughter of Agamemnon and Clytemnestra. But long-robed Helen stepped in well before him. Listen to me, and I will be your prophet. Now, the idea that Helen would step forth and decide to interpret an omen, considering she's a daughter of Zeus, there is a connection. Again, Zeus is highly linked with omens and prophecy. Why not Helen come forth and interpret? Do we know her as any kind of seer? No. Is she adept at interpreting omens? We don't really know. I mean, though, honestly, what she's about to say is pretty bang on the money. But it's because she's a daughter of Zeus that it kind of makes sense that she's the one stepping forward to do this. Sure as the gods have flashed it in my mind, and it will come to pass. I know it will. Just as the eagle swooped down from the crags where it was born and bred, just as it snatched that goose fattened up for the kill inside the house, just so, after many trials and roving long and hard, Odysseus will descend on his house and take revenge. Unless he's home already, sowing seeds of ruin for that whole crowd of suitors. That's pretty bang on the money on what we're about to get. If you were to say, what has she found? The goose that's been fattened up for slaughter. These suitors who have been squatting, who have invaded his home and are squatting, who have been eating all of his food, his good food, eating him out of house and home, fattened for slaughter. Okay, Odysseus gonna come on in with as in the eagle obviously linked with Zeus. He's coming in like that eagle with the talons to rip and maw and rend, and it's going to be fabulous. And again, this is all divinely sanctioned. It will, and Zeus is gonna when we get to the slaughter of the suitors, he'll be like, yeah, no, I divinely sanction all of this, as of course he does. He is Zeus as teamed with Xenia, and we're leading to the moment. And never bet with Helen. That girl was bang on the goddamn money. The forest of foreshadowing. Oh yeah. It also shows, like, again, while she and Menelaus have known that Odysseus is alive, again, Menelaus told the whole story of how he got told that, there's a nymph that's basically holding Odysseus hostage, and this was before we had Odysseus even leave Calypso. She's dead certain that, like, if he gets free of that nymph, that ass is coming home and he is going to wreak havoc, because she's seen Odysseus's work. And again, we already had her tell that story back in book 4 of how Odysseus rolled up in disguise as an old beggar to basically get in Troy, give her the situation of what was going on, what they were going to do with the horse, so that she knew what was going on. Like, and he was also sussing her out, going like, we still good? We still good? Yeah, I knew you were good. I knew you were cool. So we're going to have him, literally, as I was saying, pull like a Troy 2.0 when he rolls up to do the slaughter of the suitors. Of course Helen could know that Odysseus would do that. Yeah. Oh god, the K-pop demon hunters, Dr. I see. Exactly. Do not doubt a daughter of Zeus. Oh, hey, Udos, you've arrived. We are at line 200 of my translation. Could you correlate it with Zeus in prophecies with her being the daughter of Zeus? Yes, absolutely. That's why. It's because she's the daughter of Zeus. Is she a prophet? No. Is she a seer? No. But the idea that she's the one interpreting this omen that was clearly like a very Zeus-coded omen, and Zeus is highly linked with omens and prophecies, it makes sense that she's the one saying this. It totally makes sense. Oh, wait, Mariana, what you got for me? There's a wait. Give it to me, Mariana. I will wait. I know the peg snores. Maybe that's why there's the Ares mentioned for Menelaus. Because that's a son of Zeus? I am curious. Mariana, explain. Would the audience back then know the story enough to react similar as we are right now? Yes. They would know this myth. They'd be like, oh shit, Helen. Like, oh yeah, the audience would be going nuts. But he cannot make sense of the prophecy. Ares never is one for prophecy, let's be real. So an actual daughter of Zeus comes in. Well, Ares is also a son of... Wait, run that by me again, Mariana. Tell me your thought train here. So a son of Zeus cannot interpret, but a daughter of Zeus can? So we put the Ares stuff in there. To foreshadow that a child of Zeus? But he's... Okay, I get you. Menelaus is no prophet. He is married to a child of Zeus, but he himself is not a child of Zeus. But we link him with Ares to say, hey, he's still got a Zeus connection because he's married to a daughter of Zeus. And that's part of why basically his place in the Elysian Fields, Elysium, whatever, is basically guaranteed because he married a daughter of Zeus. Menelaus, Ares, Helen, Zeus. Interesting. Menelaus, like, way cooler than Ares, though. Don't tell Ares, I'm sorry. Helen, despite being a woman, has the right to answer. Yes, because she is a daughter of Zeus. That does actually, in the Greek, that makes a lot of sense, actually. I like that a lot. Mariana, if possible, could you type that as notes? Wait, actually, don't. You have, like, tendinitis. Don't. I will remember this for later. I'm going to add that to the notes. I like that a lot. And that does actually make sense. There was Elysium nepotism. It was very rare. I mean, look, Menelaus' deeds were going to get him in there anyway, but the fact that he's married to Helen pretty much guarantees that's going to be a sure thing. No, you're fine now. Okay. I was going to say, I know you have tendinitis, Mariana, and I don't want to, like, force you to type things. I'll be like, I'll try to remember this for later. If this is something that can be written down that I can add to the notes, I want to add it to the notes. That's great shit. I like that a lot. I had figured it makes sense that Helen's the one who interprets because, again, she's the daughter of Zeus, but making that connection with the warlord, that makes sense, actually. Bless you, Mariana. Thank you. Ghislaine came in late. We are on line 200. We were talking about how an omen just came down and Menelaus wondered, how do I interpret it? But Helen stepped in and said, I will play your prophet into it, which it's like, she's a woman. Would she be having the right to speak? She's a daughter of Zeus. Zeus is linked with prophecy and omens. Of course, she's the one to come in and speak and interpret this omen, even though it was Menelaus who was asked the question, because she's a daughter of Zeus. She's almost functioning like a Zeus stand-in, and also what she says, what she prophesies, if we will, is bang on the money. Remember me too, though. Of course. Mariana, you know that I always credit you in the notes. Menelaus in his Nepo husband era. It's true. You're welcome, Gerlane. No problem. Oh, if only. Pensive Telemachus burst out in thanks to Helen. Zeus, the thundering lord of Hera, makes it so. Even at home, I'll pray to you as a deathless goddess. Which, he's not saying that she is a goddess. He's basically saying, I'm super grateful to you. Oh, no, I meant make me remember. Oh! I'll nag you, Mariana. I'll nag you in the Discord. Girl was like, Brad, do you know who my dad is? Yeah. She was like, I think as a daughter of Zeus. Oh, Mariana, you and me both. Our minds are sieves, and with all of the rabbit holes we climb down and through, I am amazed. Yeah, you do realize I'm half sisters with him, right? He cracked the lash, and the horses broke quickly, careening through the city out into open country, shaking the yoke across their shoulders all day long. The sun sank, and the roads of the world grew dark as they reached Phera, pulling up to Diocles' halls, the son of Ortholicus, son of the Alpheus River. He gave them a royal welcome. There they slept the night. When young Dawn, with her rose-red fingers, shone once more, they yoked their pair again, mounted the blazoned car, and out through the gates and echoing colonnade, they whipped the team to a run, and on they flew. Yeah, no, random kingdoms. It's just like, yeah, I know my geography. It's like, okay, Homer, yeah, sure, you know your geography. I mean, yeah, you know Lacedaemon a little better than you do anything on the western side of Greece. Holding nothing back, approaching Pylos soon, the craggy citadel. That was when Telemachus turned to Pisistratus, saying, Son of Nestor, won't you do as I ask you, see it through? We're friends for all our days now, so we claim, thanks to our fathers' friendship. We're the same age as well, and this tour of ours has made us more like brothers. Prince, don't drive me past my vessel. Drop me there. Your father's old, in love with his hospitality. I fear he'll hold me, chafing in his palace. I must hurry home. Bless, he's like, I love your dad, but like, I really need to get home. Stop it, Agnes. Someone spray Agnes with a water bottle. Yeah, so let's pull one from your dad, please. The son of Nestor pondered how to do it properly, to see it through. Pausing a moment, then this way seemed best. Swerving his team, he drove down to the ship tied up on shore and loaded into her stern the splendid gifts, the robes and gold Menelaus gave, and sped his friend with a flight of winging words. Climb aboard now, fast. Muster all your men before I get home and break the news to my father. With that man's overbearing spirit, I know it all too well. He'll never let you go. He'll come down here and summon you himself. He won't return without you, believe me. In any case, he'll fly into a rage. With that warning, he whipped his sleek horses back to Pylos city and reached his house in no time. Telemachus shouted out commands to all his shipmates. Stow our gear, my comrades, deep in the holds and board at once. We must be on our way. Would Pisistratus get in trouble and how much for letting Telemachus leave without protocols, and yet, at least according to his dad? He's probably going to get a tongue lashing. His dad's gonna chew him out something good. And it's also not just this is Xenia, if you consider this is a prince passing through the kingdom and all of that. It's sort of like, not great diplomacy, because usually you want, especially when there's nothing nefarious going on, like you would want to introduce yourself to the king. Be like, hey, I'm back, great to see you, I gotta go. Telemachus is kind of being like, necessity dictates that I get out. It's also showing that there are limits to Nestor Xenia versus Menelaus. Remember, Menelaus was talking about balance in all things. You want to go, I'm letting you go. Nestor tends to keep people a little longer than they should. So his Xenia is good, but every now and then he kind of overdoes it. Yeah, but Dad, he had to go home. Now before he got some noodles. Damn it, I was going to feed him. Exactly. Nestor, very much, oh yeah, he's very much, yeah, like, what do you mean he left? I did not feed him. He's he's describing him like an old yaya. It's hysterical. Very grandparent, like, yes. Sorry, my dad's not cool. He holds you too long. Oh, it's so true. His shipmates snapped to orders, swung aboard, and sat to the oars in rank. Would Telemachus not want to stop by Nestor's palace have any effect on Xenia? No. He's still within the bounds, but he's trying to, like, speed it along. Like, should he have introduced himself again, saying, hey, I'm leaving? Because when he first came to Pylos, he already did all of that, and it was understood he was going to go and probably have to come back through because his ship is tied there, right? It's not the most polite thing to do, but he's not in the realm of violating Xenia. It's just, he's speed running his way out. So it's like a little bit rude, but we're not in Xenia violation territory. Yeah, because he's like, look, your dad does give good Xenia, I'm not gonna lie, but he kind of holds us too long. How do random kings know their princes? Well, the thing, it's not even just random kings, it's Telemachus showed up at Pylos. He looks a lot like both his parents. Obviously, Nestor is very familiar with Odysseus. He knows Odysseus well. He looks at that kid, sees the spitting image of Odysseus with a bit of Penelope, and the guy's like, I'm Telemachus, and he's like, yeah, okay, it makes sense. It tracks. But you would also show up and have trappings and things that would kind of show that you are who you say you are. But in this case, it's not really like random kings. Now, also, if you rolled up and claimed to be a prince and you weren't, that was going to come back on you in some ways, because that's bad Xenia. You're lying about who you are. Yes, and Telemachus' feet looked like Odysseus. Again, we had the whole thing about the feet. We're going to talk about feet again later, don't worry. Yeah, impudence of youth, but forgiven for the circumstances. It's true. Yeah, and it is true. In the Iliad, he's frequently called like Odysseus, father of Telemachus. He talked, I mean, it was a big deal. He had an heir, and he needed that heir to survive because he didn't produce a spare. So you know what? That was a big deal. Yeah, I know the feet. We haven't had to talk about the feet for so long. We like to forget. The part about their feet, that's way back in an earlier book. Books 3 and 4 is where you'll find us talking a bit more about the whole thing with like why they would be like recognizing other people's feet. The short version is most people were going around barefoot. Or you were in sandals, but like most people were barefoot. It was very common. Man, the toes were out. Would you have to? Depends on the circumstances. It's good form to do so, especially, I mean, usually you'd want to, because get a guest gift. Get a gift, stay the night, be treated well. You'd normally want to. And again, because these distances were great enough, they kind of have to. Going from city-state to city-state or kingdom to kingdom, it took time. You'd want to rest. So generally, you would. We're not focusing on thighs for once, I know. But just as Telemachus prepared to launch, praying, sacrificing to Pallas by the stern, a man from a far-off country came toward him now, a fugitive out of Argos. He had killed a man. He was a prophet, sprung of Melampus's line of seers. Melampus, who lived in Pylos, mother of flocks, some years ago, rich among his Pylians, at home in his great high house. But then he was made to go abroad to foreign parts, fleeing his native land, and hot-blooded Neleus, most imperious man alive, who'd commandeered his vast estate and held it down by force for 1 entire year. Did Odie break Xenia by lying to the swineherd then? Amina, we talked about that last book club. No. Because given the circumstances and that this is essentially an undercover mission and the way that Athena essentially okayed it all, no. We talked about that in the last book because that was a obviously valid question to ask. For 1 entire year. Yeah. That year, Melampus, bound by cruel chains in the halls of Phylacus, suffered agonies, all for Neleus' daughter Pero. That and the mad spell a fury, murderous spirit cast upon his mind. Okay, so couple things we're going to talk about here, because even though we're talking about Melampus, let's talk about him a little bit more. Melampus is a legendary healer and kind of like seer, soothsayer, if you will. Obviously, as we're hearing, he's originally from Pylos, but he then is later going to rule at Argos, because Neleus, who is Nestor's father, somehow it seems usurps him, which forces Menelaus into what would get called like heroic exile. is sort of what's going on here. And we talked about Neleus and how he came to Pylos before and all of that, so I'm not going to go too much into that because we have already sort of covered that. Sorry, I'm moving my notes over here. Now, when it comes to Melampus, later writers, for example, Herodotus, yes, that Herodotus, claimed that Melampus was actually the introducer of worship of Dionysus, which is interesting, though I think he's the only one who's ever said that. And he also notes that Melampus could understand the language of animals. Now, this is kind of important, and this is one thing. Melampus. Yes, you've spelled that correctly, Gurlane. Is it Gurlane or Gurlane? I'm saying Gurlane, and I'm sorry if that's wrong. You spelled that correctly. So, what's interesting is, what happened to Jason and Theseus also happened to Jason and Theseus. Yeah, usurpation's all over the place. Tell me, Mariana. I forgot to look up what his name means. Give it to me, Mariana. I want to hear what his name means. Now, what's really interesting is we don't know why Phylacus, and sometimes they say it's Iphiclus, imprisons Melampus. We don't know why he's persecuted by the Erinyes, or what get called the Fury. We don't even know how he avenges himself on Neleus, as it says he, I think, yeah, in a couple lines we're going to talk about and say that he does. We got nothing. We literally got nothing. That is just a blank. And it's interesting, especially when we know that Nestor is still ruling Pylos, so Neleus' son is still ruling Pylos, and they all have good reputations. So that's fascinating. The one who has a black feet. Please tell me that means they're hairy, or it's the fact that he has to run and travel a lot. It wouldn't be surprising. Melampus is constantly on the run. He's running around. Now, Hesiod notes that, as I said, he was imprisoned by, as we're calling here, Phylacus. Hesiod actually notes that Melampus' understanding of the language of animals, that thing that Herodotus also said, and Herodotus is writing later than Hesiod, mind, because when he was little, his mom would wrap his cloth, but the left foot, oh my god, he who has a forever sunburn, that's hilarious. That this understanding of the language of animals is ultimately what actually got him released from being imprisoned by Phylacus. So what happens is Melampus is, in wherever he hears worms that are in the roof beams of the palace, and he hears them discussing to each other how they had chewed through and undermined the integrity of the structure of those beams. So Melampus, like a crazy person at first, but then really he warns his captors of the imminent collapse of that building. And that is ultimately what gets him released from prison, because he basically helps everybody out with that one. Now, we're gonna continue on with this a little bit with the whole thing of Melampus. And what's also interesting is part of the story of Melampus, we heard about, not Melampus, the guy who's gonna talk, we've heard about earlier briefly in like 2 lines in the underworld. Who told you, a little birdie? No, actually the worms. I know, right? And Achilles' failed copy. Oh, gee, here's the thing. What you're thinking of, that's Roman. It's not Greek. Greek, the whole idea of the impervious ankle and heel and all of that, Greeks didn't have that. The Romans added that later. Fun fact. It's in a piece called the Achilleid, which was unfinished. So let's talk about them. We mentioned, as we said, what was the word that we used here? Does mad spell a fury? Okay. So, the Erinyes, who are also called sometimes the Eumenides, which if you read Aeschylus, the third play is called, of the Oresteia, is called the Eumenides. That's another name for the Erinyes. So, these are chthonic goddesses of vengeance. Chthonic meaning tied kind of with the underworld and with the dead. Now, they frequently get mentioned in the Iliad, especially, which kind of makes sense when you consider that. They are evoked as the Erinyes that under the earth take vengeance upon men, and whosoever hath sworn a false oath. So they show up for all sorts of reasons. Oh, bingo's been achieved. Someone validate the bingo and I'll get her some cucumber. Now, in his Theogony, Hesiod claims that the Erinyes were born when Cronus castrated his father Uranos as part of the usurpation that he led and threw his genitalia into the sea. So from the drops of blood that fell on the earth came the Erinyes, the Gigantes, and the Melii, who are nymphs specifically linked with ash trees. And of course, from the crests of sea foam came Aphrodite. Everybody pretty much knows that bit. However, in his play, the Eumenides, Aeschylus actually claims they are daughters of Nyx, who is that primordial goddess and manifestation representation of night. Whereas you can then look at the Orphic hymns, and they're going to claim they're daughters of Hades and Persephone. At the end of the day, like many of these types of gods, their origins are all over the place, even in the mythology. And they don't always agree. And they do show up, and they kind of have to be satisfied before they then might leave you alone, as can be seen in something like the play The Eumenides, where they are there basically chasing after Orestes because Orestes had murdered his mother and her lover after, of course, the murder of his own father. Yay, House of Atreus, always super messy. Wasn't Hades infertile? No. No. He is not. So that's kind of the whole breakdown. That's kind of who Melampus is, even though we're going to hear more about it. But that's at least who the Erinyes are. We're going to hear them a lot more in the Iliad than you really do hear about them here. But what's, again, interesting is, like, we don't know why one of the Erinyes was showing up to bother Melampus. We don't know how he got rid of it. Like, all of this stuff is left hella fucking vague. Go figure. Lore Olympus. I was going to say, I know Lore Olympus has that. But that was something she made up. If Hades were, Melampus would fix him anyway. But there we go. But the seer worked free of death and drove the lusty, bellowing cattle out of Phylace, back to Pylos. There, he avenged himself on Neleus for the shameful thing the king had done to him, and escorted Pero home as his brother's bride. Now again, we got a slightly different version of that in the underworld. In this case, we're hearing that it was all for Pero, who was a daughter of Neleus, for his brother as opposed to for himself. Again, there are multiple versions of these things, sometimes even within the same text, which speaks to, again, how localized and regionalized this was, and how the differences could be really minor, they could be super major. Yay, Greek myth. But he himself went off to a distant country, Argos, land of stallions, his destined home where he would live and rule the Argive nation. Yes, Argos, the stallion land, the land of stallions. You hear that a lot. Obviously, it had country that was good for riding horses, and some great horsemen did come out of there. So, which, as we know, the Greeks, even especially in the Bronze Age, but even going on through, really prized horsemanship. So it's like, where did he go? He went to a land of stallions. Good horses, good place to have good horsemen. Okay, cool. Here he married a wife and built a high-roofed house and sired Antiphates and Mantius, two staunch sons. Antiphates fathered Eucles, gallant heart. Eucles fathered Amphiaraus, driver of armies, whom storming Zeus and Apollo loved intensely, showering him with every form of kindness. But he never reached the threshold of old age. He died at Thebes, undone by a bribe his wife accepted, which we heard about, again, also in the Underworld. Again, part of why in the Underworld we did like the tour of dead heroes and dead people. We heard about this. This was another reference where we talked about the tale of Polynices, who was a son of Oedipus, giving Eriphyle, who is the wife of Amphiaraus, a necklace as a bribe so that she could convince her husband to join him in the Seven Against Thebes. And again, he dies at Thebes because pretty much all the heroes associated with Seven Against Thebes get wiped out. His high-roofed house, a symbol of wealth. Yes, big tall walls. High roof. You got shmoney. As a punishment for us, Homer went, oh, you thought you could avoid yapping? No. Yeah. Can't deny Homer the chance to yap. These people are obsessed with multiplying without a calculator all the time. Oh my god. Leaving behind his two sons, Alcmaeon and Amphilochus. On his side, Mantius sired Polyphetes and Cletus both. But Dawn of the Golden Throne whisked Cletus away, overwhelmed by his beauty. So the boy would live among the deathless gods. Yet Apollo made magnanimous Polyphetes a prophet, after Amphiaraus' death, the greatest seer on earth. But a feud with his father drove him off to Hypatia, where he made his home and prophesied to the world. Crete, liars. Thebes, death? Yeah, Thebes and... This prophet's son, it was, Theoclymenus, his name, who another one kidnapped by Eos? Really? I know. Eos just be snatching... Eos see a pretty man and she'd be snatching him up. Who approached Telemachus now and found him pouring wine to a god and saying prayers beside his ship. Eos is a serial kidnapper, it's true. Friend, he said in a winging supplication, since I find you burning offerings here, I beg you by these rites and the gods you pray to, then by your own life and the lives of all the men who travel with you, tell me truly, don't hold back. Who are you? Where are you from? Your city, your parents. Winging supplication. Okay, we are putting a moral imperative on Telemachus to answer these questions and help him, which also speaks to clearly some kind of desperation in Theoclymenus. Now, we did note he had apparently killed a man and he's on the run, so man would be desperate. We got a suppliant. It's shining and glittering. I must have it for my nest. It's true. Of course, stranger, the forthright prince responded. I will tell you everything clearly as I can. Ithaca is my country. Odysseus is my father. There was a man, or was he all a dream? But he surely died a wretched death by now. Yet here I've come with my crew and black ship, out for news of my father, lost and gone so long. And the godlike seer Theoclymenus replied, just like you, I too have left my land. I, because I killed a man of my own tribe. But he has many brothers and kin in Argos, Stanlian land, who rule the plains in force. Fleeing death at their hands, a dismal fate, I am a fugitive now, doomed to wander across this mortal world. So take me aboard, hear a fugitive's prayer. Don't let them kill me. They're after me, well I know. So desperate, thoughtful Telemachus exclaimed, which, yeah, we know he's desperate. He rolled up in supplication. Man is desperate. Is that foreshadow of what happens in book 24? Yeah, I do think this is foreshadowing for book 24, Mariana. I agree. How could I drive you from my ship? Come, sail with us. We'll tend you at home with all we can provide. And he took the prophet's honed bronze spear, laid it down full length on the rolling deck, swung aboard the deep-sea craft himself, assuming the pilot's seat reserved astern. So remember, we talked about essentially the pentaconter. The pilot's seat was in the back. It was the guy who was basically moving the early rendition of a kind of rudder. Isn't that, like, not okay? Why would this not be okay? The big thing is that we put Theoclymenus in the pose of a suppliant. He has essentially put a moral imperative upon Telemachus to help him. And people kill people all the time. Look, Oedipus killed a dude and became king. We don't know the circumstances of why that happened. There's also the fact that essentially Theoclymenus is kind of royalty adjacent. But the big... Oh no, I'm talking to Dracologist. Okay, yeah, the big thing is that he's taken the pose of a suppliant and put a moral imperative on Telemachus to help him. Telemachus needs a happy meal. And put the seer beside him. Cables cast off, Telemachus shouted out commands to all of his shipmates. All lay hands to tackle. It's Homer's way of critique of family feuds. Yeah, because family feuds were deadly. Yeah, it's definitely a critique on family feuds. Wouldn't this cause a conflict or something? Likely not. They're going to say he got off in a ship. If they know. By this point, it's pretty clear he's so far ahead of people that, like, seriously, who's going to know? Who's going to know? Let them reach the assassin, but with mediation by another party. Yes, they would make it right without any more killings. Yeah, and Telemachus would step in as a third party and say, guys, just put it to rest. It's essentially end the family feud, because these family feuds were incredibly deadly. I mean, we've talked about all these kings where a lot of these usurpations were coming from family members. I mean, look at what happened with the house, again, just the house of Atreus. Look at what happened with Jason's family. Like, we've seen the deadly effect of family feuds, and Telemachus is, stepping in as kind of a mediating third party to be like, yeah, we'll put it to end. If he really wants to chase you all the way to fucking Ithaca, he can, and then we will talk and have to mediate this. Yeah, and family feuds usually lead to war. Yeah, I mean, we literally just made a reference to the Seven Against Thebes. Talk about a deadly family feud that exploded into violence until the Trojan War on a scale that had not been seen, and caused the decimation of 14 different houses, 7 on the sides of the aggressors and 7 on the sides of the defenders. All those heroes were wiped out. So yeah, like, absolutely a critique on let's just shut this down while we've got it here. Definitely. Because we've made all these references leading up to it. And we just spent all this time talking about Melampus and all of that. So yeah, there's a reason. Exactly. They sprang to orders, hoisting the pine wood mast. They stepped it firm in its block amidships, lashed it fast with stays, and with braided rawhide halyards hauled the white sail high. Now, bright-eyed Athena sent them a stiff following wind, blustering out of a clear sky, gusting on so the ship might run its course through the salt sea at top speed. And past the springs she raced, and the Chalkis' rushing stream, as the sun sank and the roads of the world grew dark, and on she pressed for Phae, driven on by a wind from Zeus, and flew past lovely Elis, where Epeans rule in power. And then Telemachus veered for the jagged islands, wondering all the way, would he sweep clear of death or be cut down? The king and loyal swineherd, just that night, were supping with other field hands in the lodge, and once they'd put aside desire for food and drink, Odysseus spoke up, eager to test the swineherd, yet again, see if he'd stretch out his warm welcome now, invite him to stay on in the farmstead here, or send him off to town. Yes, we've pulled a meanwhile back on Ithaca with Odysseus and the bestest swineherd Eumaeus. God, I love Homer. Listen, Eumaeus, all you comrades. Oh, wait, I have to do old man voice. Okay, I'm going to slightly adjust my old man voice so I don't rip my throat open. Listen, Eumaeus, all you comrades here. At the crack of dawn, I mean to go to town and do my begging. Not to be a drain on you and all your men. But, advise me, well, give me a trusty guide to see me there. And then I'm on my own to roam the streets. I have no choice. Hoping to find a handout, just a crust or a cupful. I'd really like to go to the house of King Odysseus and give my news to his cautious queen, Penelope. Why, I'd even mix with those overweening suitors. Would they spare me a plateful? Look at all they have. I'd do good work for them promptly. Anything they want. Let me tell you, listen closely. Catch my drift. Thanks to Hermes, the guide, who gives all work of our hands the grace and fame that it deserves, no one alive can match me at household chores. Building a good fire, splitting kindling neatly, carving, roasting meat, and pouring rounds of wine, anything menials to do to serve their noble masters. God's sake, my friend, you broke in now, Eumaeus, loyal swineherd, deeply troubled. What's got into your head? What crazy plan? You must be hell-bent on destruction. On the spot. Of course, Odysseus portraying himself as the best butler that will ever be. Of course, because if he's going to be anything, he'll be the best at it. If your kingdom mingle with that mob of suitors, their pride and violence hit the iron skies. They're a far cry from you, the men who do their bidding. Young bucks all rigged out with their fine robes and shirts, hair sleeked down with oil, faces always beaming. The ones who slave for them? The tables polished, sagging under the bread and meat and wine. No. Stay here. No one finds you a burden. Surely not I, nor any comrade here. You wait till Odysseus' dear son comes back. That boy will deck you out in a cloak and shirt and send you off wherever your heart desires. Which I love how he's describing these young bucks. All fashion, no form. They're vacuous. They are empty. They are not anything on the level of Odysseus or even Telemachus and the actual royal family. These their hair sleeked down with oil. I mean, just like slimy, oily. I love it. Good fame, bad fame go up to the skies anyway, but consequences come back down. It's so true. It's so true. They are the Jersey. Oh my God. They are. They're the Jersey Shore boys. Oh my God, they are. They're Jersey Shore. Yeah. All but no, but really like all fashion, no form. Like there's nothing to them. They are empty. They're not worth shit. I love it. It's so good. If only Eumaeus, the wayworn exile, said, "You were as dear to Father Zeus as you are to me. You stopped my pain, my endless homesick roving, tramping about the world. There's nothing worse for a man. The fact is that men put up with misery to stuff their cursed bellies. Seeing you hold me here, urging me now to wait for him, the prince who's on his way. Tell me about the mother of King Odysseus, please. The father he left as well, on the threshold. Oilomenos gastros. On the threshold, the ruinous stomach. Yup, their cursed bellies. It's like, God, what we do because of our goddamn hunger. The threshold of old age, when he sailed off to war. Are they still alive, perhaps? Still looking into the light of day? Or dead by now and down in death's long house? He's asking about his mom, which he knows the answer to, and he wants to know about his father. Obviously, he doesn't know if his father has died in the meanwhile since he was in the underworld. So yeah, he wants to know. So that's why there's sadness. Like, he knows half the answer. Friend, the swineherd, foreman of men, assured his guest. I'll tell you the whole story, point by point. We are finally going to get the story of Eumaeus, the thing that I held off on doing last book. Laertes is alive, but night and day he prays to Zeus, waiting there in his house, for the life breath to slip away and to leave his body. So Laertes is praying for death each and every day. He just wants to die. His heart's so racked for his son, lost and gone these years. For his wife so fine, so wise, her death is the worst blow. Yeah, the woman beside the man is very prevalent, it's true. He's had to suffer. It made him old before his time. She died of grief for her boy, her glorious boy. It wore her down, a wretched way to go. I pray that no one I love dies such a death. No island neighbor of mine who treats me kindly. While she was still alive, heartsick as she was, it always moved me to ask about her, learn the news. She reared me herself, and right beside her daughter. Kitmini, graceful girl with her long, light gown, the youngest one she'd born. Just the two of us growing up together, the woman tending me almost like her child. This is a pretty big deal of what we're hearing. Now, we haven't heard all of his backstory, but hearing that he was raised almost as an equal to Odysseus' sister speaks to how he is no ordinary doulos. He's no ordinary slave. He's something special and unique. He's being treated in a unique way, and this would have stood out. Now, we kind of suspected this in book 14 because we're meeting him, and Eumaeus, we're meeting him, we realize he's putting on sandals. That's a big deal. Like, wow, he can afford sandals, and good ones, because again, most people were going around barefoot if they could not afford to either, like, could make them themselves or have them made for them. And we weren't calling them shitty sandals. They were, I guess, apparently sturdy, good stuff. So it's like, damn, he's getting good stuff. Okay, he's clearly in a pretty good position. They must treat their slaves really well. It's not just that. He's someone special. He was being raised uniquely. And again, this is stuff we were suspecting in book 14, but we're getting it confirmed basically here by hearing that he was raised essentially alongside Odysseus' sister. Now, not alongside Odysseus as equal to Odysseus, but the sister. So you are still property, but we treat you like family. So is Eumaeus around Ctemeni's age? We don't actually know. It's so close to being legitimate that son than a doulos, almost like Theon. Yeah, and that makes sense when we hear a bit more of his backstory. It's true. Yeah, the way he is being treated in this house is so unique. And the Greeks would have been like, wow, they really cared for this dude. And it just means that his loyalty, it rings even more true because to them, they're like, to him, they are almost like family. He really cares about the house of Odysseus. And it also explains why he's so fucking loyal. He's like, fuck yeah, I'm loyal to these people. They basically raised me. And in circumstances beyond what was required, right? It's beautiful. And as we hear, just the two of us growing up together, the woman tending me almost like her child, till we both reached the lovely flush of youth, and then her parents gave her away in marriage, yes, to a Samian man, and a haul of gifts they got. But her mother decked me out in cloak and shirt. Good clothing she wrapped about me, gave me sandals, sent me here, this farm. Yes, not that Doloi are treated bad, but Anticlea goes way beyond like requirements. What's being done here is so like above and beyond what would be. I mean, because again, the thing about Doloi, slavery in this Bronze Age, and as it's being described here, is very different from what we think of when we think of like 19th century slavery, especially the American slavery. This is very different. But this is even beyond that, which speaks to the humanity of Anticlea and really just like what good, generous, similar to, not quite godchild, godparent, because he is still a doulos. He is still a slave. He is still their property, essentially, right? But it's just treatment beyond what anybody would ever be expected or required to do, which again speaks to why Laertes and Anticlea and all them are so beloved, and especially why they're so special to him. But also, you know, he's being given a cloak, he's being given a tunic, he's being given sandals. These would have been good quality. Again, huge deal. He's being given this bit of land, which is clearly a good set of land because he's running all the pigs, and they're good fucking pigs. Like, this is good livestock, so this is good land he's being given to work. He's being given a lot. And again, the fact that he was raised beside Catemine is huge. It's again, it also speaks to why we have that whole bit of where they would say Odysseus who ruled over his people as a father does his children. And they said that, you know, kind of about Laertes and all that. We're being shown told by Eumaeus, that's not hyperbole. This is stuff that Odysseus would have learned from watching his parents rule and how they treat their people. So if they say he ruled and cared about his people as a father does his children, where did he learn that from? Watching his parents. Look at how they treated Eumaeus. And look at how, Euryclea is so loyal and loves them. Look at how all of that. So notice how the servants who are loyal are older. It seems that the younger ones, the ones who probably didn't really know Odysseus, are the ones who are like the 12 disloyal maids and all of them. Although you do also have Melanthius and Melanthos, so like whatever, we don't really know their ages, but we could say maybe they're a little bit younger, we don't know. Doloi are properties, and isn't everything property of the husband, the wife, are properties? You mean are the Doloi owned specifically by the husband or by the wife? I mean, yeah, the house of Odysseus, they're owned by the palace. The whole idea is that they are attached to the palace. Like, if we're gonna get into legal nitty-gritty, likely, yes, it would be said that they are the property of the man of the house. I mean, right now, they technically belong to Odysseus. He is still man of the house. But they're attached to the palace is really more than anything else. Homer really makes Odysseus an example of quite, despite Odie himself not being seen as the most honorable of among other heroes. It's not that he's not seen as the most honorable. It's more that they're wary of him and that they know how clever he is. And sometimes they just go, bruh, maybe we don't do that. But it is a good plan. We do it as a last-ditch effort. Odysseus is definitely still honorable, but he's crafty. And on his mother's side, he's got that link to one of, like, this infamous thief. So they just kind of look at him a little sideways. But at the same time, it's more the household and the hierarchy inside is what makes it work. Yeah. I'm confused how we know Ctemine's husband is Eurylochus is because he is the only Samian person we know from the Odyssey. It's because specifically Odysseus calls him his brother-in-law. like this has been established earlier. And in this case, yes, we're talking about Same. That's to remind us, oh yeah, Eurylochus. This has already been mentioned in previous the books. I can't remember which one exactly, but we know this because in the Odyssey it's said. I wonder if I can find it in my notes here. Actually, I could probably then tell you what book it was. Maybe I didn't put it in my notes. I can't remember what book it's mentioned in, but we do know that that is who that is. I'm pretty sure it's mentioned in the Odyssey. If not, it's mentioned somewhere else. But I'm fairly certain it's mentioned in the Odyssey. Oh god, now I gotta get back to my notes. We're back. Okay. Good. Phew. I was like, no, my notes. Alack, poor Yorick. Yeah, in this case, for Eumaeus, he doesn't bother to remember his name because what's important to him is Odysseus' household. He doesn't really care about Eurylochus. Because at that point, Ctemene has left the protection and sort of property of her family and is now under Eurylochus' home. Anyway. Yes, this is, and again, we're going to get more of Eumaeus' own, like, personal backstory, but this is, like, why is he so loyal? Like, why does he care so much? Here's why. And again, Odysseus being said a king who, you know, ruled and loved his people as a father does his children. He's getting it from the parents. They showed him how to be a great king. Eumaeus, why would Eumaeus be happy hearing Eurylochus died? He doesn't hold any, like, there's no animosity towards Eurylochus. In fact, he's saying, like, this man paid so much. He paid a huge bride price for Ctemene. It speaks to her value and her worth, how great she is. Why would he care that Eurylochus is dead? Agnes, I don't know where you draw that parallel or that conclusion. Because he's, like, that's not going to make him happy. I'm going to say Eurylochus says, no, are you crazy? She'll change every one of us. Yeah, I was going to say, book 10, he gets his sister back. No, Agnes, no, he doesn't. No, Agnes, don't think like that, no. With him dead, unless she had a son. If they have children, she can stay with her son. We don't actually know if they had children. But likelihood, I mean, again, part of the goal of marriage is to produce children. It is likely she probably had some sort of child. She would be there. And if she had a son, she can stay with her son. So, and because Same is not like Ithaca, which again is even not that big compared to the mainland. And yeah, Agnes, yeah, don't think that way because again, while he is in a unique position as a Tholos, he is not on the same level as Ctemene. And it wouldn't be a case of my sister, he would never call her that. So, you know, he's like, I was raised like I was their child, but I am not one of their children. We're not mad, we're just disappointed. Yeah, just he's like, I'm going to attach his head from his neck, but don't, he's my brother-in-law. I was going to say, I'm like, I'm pretty sure we mention it, but yeah, in book 10, that makes sense. Thank you. I was surprised I didn't have it in my notes, but probably because it was said right there, I didn't have to go into it. Anyway. Yeah, here we go. She loved me from the start. How I am ass. Oh, how I miss her kindness now. The happy gods speed the work that I labor at, that gives me food and drink to spare for the ones I value. But from Queen Penelope I never get a thing, never a winning word, no friendly gesture, not since this plague has hit the house, these high and mighty suitors. Which tells you, again, Ithaca is out of joint, because Penelope would never normally behave this way, but when you have your home invaded, and you're essentially under siege for 3 years, yeah, you're gonna find difficulty in engaging in that. Yeah, Penelope would do the same. Eumaeus knows this, but she's unable to because of the suitors who are disrupting everything in the house. Exactly. Yeah, as he says, it's why he says, he goes, it's because of this plague. These suitors who come in like a plague and ruin everything, and the effect is upon the people in the house. It's not just that we're losing livestock, losing money, losing all of this. It's like the people are the ones who are suffering. And what is being done to Penelope, like, let's make no bones about it, is an assault. It is a prolonged assault over the course of, as I said in here in the Odyssey, 3 years. Every day in her house. She's not even safe in her own house. Some of the servants are like she can't even trust. She has to deal with them all day, every day, even when she says no, tries to tell them to leave, and they go, but we don't want to. I mean, it is stalking, it is home invasion, it is awful. So, like, that's why I love, like, we see Eumaeus' character where it's like, yeah, I don't get that from Penelope, but of course I don't look at what's going on. He's saying essentially normally I would it would behave the same way. She's a wonderful woman, but she's in the worst circumstances. Agnes, that's what Athena said, but we don't know if that's true. She was just trying to get Telemachus to move. Because remember, in the beginning, Telemachus himself had said, we're not sending word to her father. Have you met my grandfather? You think demanding of him anything is going to work out in your favor? Remember, what she said to Telemachus was a trick. She's trying to get his butt in gear. Even as she said, Penelope will run away and take all the shit. Like, she's lying to him, essentially. Remember that, Agnes. It wasn't real. Yeah, giving Odysseus more reasons to murder every minute. So true. And leave her in disgrace. Yeah, Agnes, that's why I was saying she's saying this to get his butt in gear, but it's not the truth. Yeah, she's like, I'm really gonna light a fire under this kid's ass because I'm taking no chances with these House of Odysseus morons. She's like, taking no chances. I'm going to put all of his greatest fears into motion, get his ass in gear, let's go. Exactly. Servants miss it terribly, gossiping back and forth with the mistress, gathering scraps of news, a snack and a cup or two, then taking home to the field some little gift. It never fails to cheer a servant's heart. True, Penelope ain't getting paid enough for this shit. And it's exactly what also Eumaeus is saying. He's like, look, she was a wonderful queen. We love being, like, attached to this palace and being in her service. She always treated us well. But since the suitors showed up, everything has been destroyed. Imagine that, his canny master said. You must have been just a little fellow, Eumaeus, when you were swept so far from home and parents. Come, tell me the whole story. True. Penelope does need all the naps. Man, that is why Athena is rolling up to give her sleep. I mean, when you are under essentially physical siege, it is such a mental toll. You are anxious all the time. You become paranoid. You can't sleep well. It's why Athena needs to roll up and be like, girl, get a nap. Girl, you need it. She gets sleep, good sleep, only as the result of divine intervention, which speaks to the level of stress she's under and the effect that all this has upon her. It's insane. And also, yeah, communal nap time sounds great for them. Was your city sacked? Some city filled with people, wide streets, where your father and mother made their home? Or were you all alone, herding your sheep and cattle when pirates kidnapped, shipped and sold you off to this man's house who paid a healthy price? Yep. Telemachus couldn't sleep in the house of freaking Menelaus because he's preoccupied. Imagine how Penelope is. Yes. And because Telemachus now understands a bit more why, Penelope has that much difficulty sleeping already, and then throws suitors in on top of that, and in her own house. And he's off in, the gorgeous palace of Menelaus, and even he can't sleep because he's got anxiety, but hers amplify it by 108 times another 100. It's insane. My friend, the swineherd answered, foreman of men, you really want my story? So many questions. Well, listen in quiet then, and take your ease. Sit back and drink your wine. The nights are endless now. With plenty of time to sleep or savor a long tale. No need, to turn in before the hour. Even too much sleep can be a bore. Firm disagree, Eumaeus. I would love the idea of getting too much sleep. I was gonna say to 108 too. Mariana and I, brainwaves. But anyone else who feels the urge can go to bed and then at the crack of dawn, break bread, turn out and tend our master's pigs. We too will keep to the shelter here, eat and drink and take some joy in each other's heartbreaking sorrows, sharing each other's memories. Over the years, man finds solace even in old sorrows. True, a man who's weathered many blows and wandered many miles, aka how we have described Odysseus, how Odysseus has described himself. My own story? This will answer all your questions. There's an island, Syrie, you may have heard of it, off above Ortygia, out where the sun wheels around. Not so packed with people, still a good place though, fine for sheep and cattle, rich in wine and wheat. Hunger never attacks the land, no sickness either. That always stalks the lives of us poor men. No, as each generation grows old on the island, down Apollo comes with his silver bow, with Artemis, and they shoot them all to death with gentle arrows. 2 cities there are that split the land in half, and over them both my father ruled in force, Ormenus' son Ctesius, a man like a deathless god. Homer parallelism, my beloved, I know. One day, a band of Phoenicians landed there. Famous sea dogs, sharp bargainers too. The holds of their black ship brimful with a horde of flashy baubles. Now, my father kept a Phoenician woman in the house. Beautiful, tall, and skilled at weaving lovely things. And her rascal countrymen lusted to seduce her. Yeah, damn you, Homer. The gentle arrows, I know, the gentle arrows trauma. For those who don't know, that's way back in a different book. And lost no time. She was washing clothes when one of them waylaid her beside their ship in a long, deep embrace that can break a woman's will, even the best alive. And then he asked her questions. Her name, who was she, where did she come from? She waved at once to my father's high-roofed house. But I'm proud to hail from Sidon paved in bronze, she said. And Aribas was my father, a man who rolled in wealth. I was heading home from the fields when Taphian pirates snatched me away, and they shipped and sold me here to this man's house. He paid a good stiff price. The sailor, her secret lover, lured her on. Well then, why don't you come back home with us? See your own high house, your father and mother there. They're still alive. People say they're rich. Now there's a tempting offer, she said in haste. If only you sailors here would swear an oath, you'll land me safe at home without a scratch. Those were her terms. Once they'd vowed to keep them, swore their oaths they'd never do her harm, that woman hatched a plan. Now, not a word. Let none of your shipmates say a thing to me, meeting me on the streets or at the springs. Someone might go running off to the house and tell the old king. He'd think the worst, clap me in cruel chains, and find a way to kill you. So keep it. Literally, this seduces a woman's heart even more, even the most well-minded. Yeah, he's like, man, this guy apparently was that good. Nobody was immune. Like, damn, okay. Damn, okay. So keep it a secret, down deep. Get on with buying your home cargo quickly. But once your holds are loaded up with goods, then fast as you can, you send the word to me over at the palace. I'll bring you all the gold I can lay my hands on, and something else I'll give you in the bargain. Fare for passage home. I I'm nurse to my master's son in the palace now. Such a precious toddler scampering round outside, always at my heels. I'll bring him aboard as well. Wherever you sell him off, whatever foreign parts, he'll fetch you quite a price. Bargain struck. Back the woman went to our lofty halls. And the rovers stayed on with... Is that right? Did I just skip a page? I feel like I skipped a page, sorry. No, I was right. And the rovers stayed on with us one whole year, bartering, piling up big hoards in their hollow ship. Yep, this is the parallel with the stuff that Penelope would take from the house to go be married again. Also, a bargain price for the journey. Yeah, insane. Eumaeus is telling the story of where he came from. And once their holds were loaded full for sailing, they sent a messenger fast to alert the woman. This crafty bandit came to my father's house, dangling a gold choker linked with amber beads. And while the maids at hall and my noble mother kept on fondling it, dazzled, feasting their eyes and making bids, he gave a quiet nod to my nurse, who gave her the nod and slunk back to his ship. Grabbing my hand, she swept me through the house, and there in the porch she came on cups and tables left by the latest feasters, fathers, men of council, just gone off to the meeting grounds for full debate, and quick as a flash, she snatched up 3 goblets, tucked them in her bosom, whisked them off, and I tagged along, lost in all my innocence. The sun sank, the roads of the world grew dark, and both on the run, we reached the bay at once. The swift Phoenician ship lay set to sail. Handing us up on board, the crewmen launched out on the foaming lanes, and Zeus sent wind astern. 6 whole days we sailed, 6 nights, non-stop. And then, when the god brought on the 7th day, Artemis, showering arrows, came and shot the woman head first into the bilge. She splashed like a diving turn, and the crewmen heaved her body over. A nice treat for the seals and fish. But, left me all alone. Bad woman and bad servant, but under some kind of duress. Cowering, sick at heart, until, at last, the wind and current bore us on to Ithaca, here where Laertes bought me with his wealth, and so I first laid eyes on this good land. And royal King Odysseus answered warmly, Eumaeus, so much misery. You've moved my heart deeply with your long tale. Such pain, such sorrow. True. But look at the good fortune Zeus sends you, hand in hand with the bad. After all your toil, you reach the house of a decent, kindly man, who gives you all you need in meat, drink. He's seen to that, I'd say. It's a fine life you lead. Better than mine. I've been drifting through cities up and down the earth, and now I've landed here. Is this the first time Odysseus hears Eumaeus' backstory? Likely not. Likely not. He's likely either probably been told parts of it before, if not by Eumaeus himself, by Laertes, by others. This isn't the first time he's likely heard his story. Since Eumaeus is technically a kidnapped prince turned slave, is there something like loyalty preventing him from trying or even wanting to return to his birthplace, get back to his status? It's because he's a Dolos. If he were to try and break and run, it wouldn't look good on him. Similarly to how, look what happened with the servant woman who was in a similar place as him. She was essentially like a princess. She got kidnapped, sold as a slave, but the moment she broke that, it's the same as his mother. This is his nursemaid, though. It's not his mother. Once she broke, a servant woman, yeah. Once she broke that and tried to run away and leave, she died. There's consequences for that. So, he's like, you know what? I'm good. Could he go home and live as a prince? I mean, maybe, but is it worth the potential risk of that divine retribution that's always circling overhead? Yeah, this is the parallel. He's like, but I stay here. I'm loyal, and frankly, he was treated so well in this house. If Odie freed him, could he take it back? You mean if he was let go as a doulos? Could he, if he were a freeman? If he were released as a freeman, I mean, he could, could that house demand it? That house doesn't know where he is. They don't know where he is. Think about it. The one person who stole him is dead. They'd have to find the exact pirates she went off to, but they're not going to know who that is. How would they even know where he is? So the house can't, I mean, could they demand him back? They'd have to pay for him. They could show up and demand him, but they'd have to pay for him. Could Ithaca return him? Why? There's no reason to. Yeah, he has no father's feet to be recognized from him. Yeah, I mean, if he tries to go back, there's no way for him to prove who he is. There's nothing he can do to prove who he is to those people. Like, making him a freeman would actually potentially put him in worse straits than he is now. So, like, honestly, the situation he's in is really good. It is depressing. It's sad. And that's sort of the result of the fact that we're essentially pirates running around doing this. And it's a business transaction, yeah. This is all business. Again, remember, he is being considered property. He is attached to a household. He is property. Yeah, he was taken as a toddler. Like, no one's gonna recognize him. His whole house could have been overthrown for all he knows. It's sort of a parallel to Odysseus, as he's used some language that's similar, but he's also saying, like, it's proving his loyalty and proving that he would end up like the nursemaid. She was telling them her family roots and look what happened to them down to the whales. Exactly. Like, he's like, no, man, I'm good. You just sort of accept that is how life is. You accept that life is unfair. That's the thing. The Greeks were very aware of how unfair life was, and it sucks, but, like, that's how it is. Sucks to suck. Like, and you tried to make the best of what you had, of your lot in life. This is basically how it was. Yeah, it sucked, but it can suck worse. That is also true. It can suck so much worse, and he saw firsthand as a toddler how that happened. Like, imagine the trauma on that kid. He saw firsthand how much worse it can suck. And he went, you know what? I'm good. I ended up with a royal family that treated me extremely well. Ridiculously well. I'm good. The only problem right now is the plague that has come upon this house, that is these 108 suitors. If they're gone, honestly, everything's back to being hunky-dory. Because yes, he has property, but they're not usually mistreated or treated badly. Again, doulos can own property. They can marry free, members of like the freeman class, if you will. Like, life's not that bad, considerably. Yeah, Greek Hakuna Matata. Life sucks, don't worry about it. It's like, move on. Everybody's got their shit they deal with, basically. Everybody has to toil to live, essentially. Part of why he looks at those suitors is like, they don't do shit. They don't know how to do shit. They don't work. They're Jersey Shore grease balls. Like, they don't do nothing. You bring nothing to the table. Why would I respect you? Compared to Odysseus, who we know can build a ship, at least a raft. We know he could plow his fields. He worked. And again, part of being a king was often that also you were tied to the agriculture of your kingdom. You also worked. Yeah, and again, this sort of Bronze Age kind of slavery that we're hearing about, it's very different from what we think of with the slave trade of like the 17th to 19th centuries. It's very different. Let's see. So guest and host confided through the night until they slept. A little, at least, not long. Dawn soon rose and took her golden throne. That hour, Telemachus and his shipmates raised the coasts of home. They struck sail and lowered the mast smartly, rowed her into a mooring under oars. Out went the bowstones, cables fast astern. The crew themselves swung out into the breaking surf. They got a meal together and mixed some ruddy wine, and once they'd put aside desire for food and drink, clear-headed Telemachus gave the men commands. Pull our black ship round to the city now. I'm off to my herdsmen and my farms. By nightfall, once I've seen to my holdings, I'll be down in town. In the morning, I'll give you wages for the voyage, a handsome feast of meat and hearty wine. The seer, Theoclymenus, broke in quickly. Where shall I go, dear boy? Of all the lords in rocky Ithaca, whose house shall I head for now? Or do I go straight to your mother's house and yours? Surely, in better times, discreet Telemachus replied, I would invite you home. Our hospitality never fails, but now I fear it could only serve you poorly. I'll be away and mother would never see you. She rarely appears these days, what with those suitors milling in the hall. She keeps to her upper story, weaving at her loom. But I'll mention someone else you might just visit. Eurymachus, wise Polybus's fine, upstanding son. He's the man of the hour. Our island people look on him like a god. The prince of suitors, hottest to wed my mother, sees my father's powers. But God knows, Zeus up there in his bright Olympus, whether or not before that wedding day arrives, he'll bring the day of death on all their heads. At his last words, a bird flew past on the right, a hawk, Apollo's wind-swift herald, tight in his claws a struggling dove, and he ripped its feathers out, and they drifted down to earth between the ship and the young prince himself. The prophet called him aside, clear of his men, and grasped his hand, exclaiming, Look, Telemachus, the will of God just winged that bird on your right. The moment I saw it here before my eyes, I knew it was a sign. No line more kingly than yours in all of Ithaca. Yours will reign forever. If only, friend. Yeah, also Zeus coming in like, don't even entertain the notion. Absolutely not. Shut up. You guys are fine. Exactly. Oh, if only, friend, alert Telemachus answered. All you say comes true. You'd soon know my affection, know my gifts. Any man you meet would call you blessed. He turned to a trusted friend and said, Piraeus, son of Cletus, you're the one who's done my bidding, more than all other friends who sailed with me to Pylos. Please take this guest of mine to your own house. Treat him kindly, host him with all goodwill, till I can come myself. Coerced Telemachus, Piraeus, the gallant spearman, offered warmly. Stay up country just as long as you like. I'll tend the man. He'll never lack a lodging. Piraeus boarded ship and told the crew to embark at once and cast off cables quickly. They swung aboard and sat to the oars in ranks. Telemachus fastened rawhide sandals on his feet and took from the decks his rugged bronze-tipped spear. The men cast off, pushed out and pulled for town as Telemachus ordered. King ODYSSEY' son. The prince strode out briskly, legs speeding him on till he reached the farm where his great droves of pigs crowded their pens, and the loyal swineherd often slept beside them, always the man to serve his masters well. And that is where we leave off at the end of book 15. Telemachus and Odysseus, the meeting is finally coming in the next book. We got the backstory of Eumaeus. We, got yet more signs from Zeus saying, nah, you guys are fine, don't worry, I got you. Oh, good stuff in this one. Again, we're building the tension. Everybody wants to get to the slaughtered suitors, I know, but Homer's like, nah, I got groundwork to lay. I got shit we got shit we gotta do first. We're getting all the pieces in play. How dare you leave us here? I know. All the pieces are being put on the board, starting to move them into the right positionings. And Homer was good at a cliffhanger between books, I know. This is all a setup for the payoff. The payoff is going to be that slaughter, and it's going to be so good, but you got to have good setup. And he's like, I do not scrimp on my setup. Yeah, dead men there be. It's true. Are there any questions about book 15 specifically, or I'll even open it up to books 1 through 15? But the reunion next book, I promise. It's not a famous amphetamous line, Agnes. Someone spritz Agnes. Imagine someone at the Pantheonic Games had to sing right up to this point and then leave. Oh my God, I know, right? The audience would be like, what the fuck? Amazing. Oh. And unleashing the garden hose. Good. Excellent. But yes, any questions, books 1 to 15? Any at all? I mean, you guys asked some great questions throughout the book, so if there's any you've got lingering. Yes, we are getting suitors next week. We get to meet the Jersey Shore boys of ancient Greece. I mean, again, we've already met them. But technically, there are mean girls. There are Jersey Shore boys meets our mean girls. All fashion, no form, no function. Yes, our B plot and our A plot meeting up. The return of the knockoff Heathers, yeah. I rest my case. Thank you so much. Mariana's backing up. So for those who haven't been in the Discord, we've been having this conversation about the suitors, how like they're really not meant to be distinguished from each other. And Mariana said, Agnes, even my translator notes that we're not meant to have distinction between suitors. They're all disruptions, equally bound to be destroyed, which is absolutely true. As we continue with the suitors, we'll talk more about that. Not so much a question, but I do wonder if there's importance to mentioning the seer coming along with Telemachus. Yes. A lot of what's mostly being mentioned here is Homer kind of putting his foot down on like family blood feuds are stupid. More that they are destructive. They just lead to death. It's, violence begets violence begets violence begets violence. He's like, you gotta stop it somehow. So that's really like his function here. But having a seer on your team, those are useful. And we are going to have also more moments where Penelope is going to be seeing potential omens and portents that are telling her, hey, Odysseus, if he's not home, is on his way. So we're putting a chess piece on the board to be utilized later. Oh, Goddess, what did you do? What do you mean you hurt yourself on accident? What happened? Yeah, there are less characters and more obstacles. Yes. They, as much as we talk about some of them individually and some of them get speaking lines and some of them get named, these suitors are, objects of disruption. They are a faceless mass that is ultimately meant to be destroyed because of what they do. No, Agnes. If the slaughter happened in one... Okay, that's a good question, Apollinia. But the important thing being, Athena ensures they are all in the palace to be destroyed. They all just are always there. That's the whole thing, is they are always there. And even suitors later we will see who might try to escape the consequences of those actions of theirs, they ain't gonna escape. Athena's gonna make sure of it. I don't know if we mentioned this before, but is there significance of the specific number 108? No, there's no real significance. Just that it's a lot. It's a big number of people, but no real significance to it. Does Telemachus ever realize that Athena was lying to him to get him back to Ithaca? Even if he... it kind of doesn't matter even if he does. The big thing, because we're gonna kill them all anyway. Does he realize she's lying? I mean, just because if you were to believe that Icarius and her brothers are urging her, it would be up to Penelope to make the choice. And she doesn't. So it kind of, I mean, it ultimately is sort of a big nothing burger at the end of the day. I don't remember if this has been asked in other lists. Does Temene appear in other myths? No, not really. She's here, but that's all we really know almost nothing about her. She exists! Yay! She's married to Eurylochus. That's it. That's pretty much all we know about her. Can I help you? Thank you. Thank you. Ooh! I pulled a thread. A loud crack in your finger? Oh God, did you just like... Come on up. Yeah, come here. Yeah, you stay on this side, please. We have... Where Penelope's loom would have been set up, would it be in her chambers? In her chambers. That's part of the whole thing, is she has in her chambers. It's, you know, it's a womanly activity. She didn't want it public. It was in her chambers. So it's a thing she was doing in private. Now, the then problem was, of course, when the suitors found out the deceit, it was probably moved to a more public area, and so that they could watch and see the progress. Your wrist. Ah! Not the wrist. Ooh! Oh boy, get it checked out, please. Even if by the time if Telemachus were to figure out Athena's stretch the truth, it would sort of be a non-issue, because they're going to be killing them. Like that's by the time he figures that out, he's already in on the plot to kill the suitors. And he'd be like, a god did this? Oh well, they must have had a reason. No, Peg, don't leave. She refuses to share. You don't. Aw, Mama. Come here. No, come here. Uppy uppies. Uppy uppies. Yeah, you're right. Come here. Yeah, I'll move. I'll move. Posh is the prevention of sexual. Ah. Come here. I know. I know. We get. How do I manage the dogs? I don't. They manage me. Where do you want to be? Do you want to be here or do you want to be here? I was gonna say, you can't just straddle my leg. Make a decision, please. Oh, I'm gonna have to sit forward, aren't I? I am, which is very difficult in this chair, Peg, when I've got Bennett practically falling off on the left. Okay, this is... Peg, you cannot... What are we doing here? What are we doing? Come here, Bubby. There, yeah. Yeah, you like that side. I know, oh my god, dogs. Could it be that Athena also said some lies to Telemachus about Amphinomus that... No! No, Agnes. No. No. Agnes. No. Agnes, you've read the Odyssey, have you not? If you haven't, no. That's not what happens. Amphinomus dies and was destined to die because of what he did for 3 years. And Athena does not lie to Telemachus about that. How do I sit in one position for so long? I'm lucky that the chair is comfortable. Yeah, one does not manage puppers, one goes with their whims, it's true. Yeah, unleashing the garden hose. Oh dear that he didn't lie though. One against 3 years of... Yeah. There's nothing redeemable about the suitors at the end of the day. Like, that's the whole point. They are destined to die because what they do is so irredeemable. And again, they do it every day for 3 years. 365 times 3. Add an extra 366 if you want. Like, it's so beyond the pale what they do. And even in modern day, we would look at that and be horrified. The fact that he rolled up, the overstaying, no, it's the fact, I mean, frankly, the Xenia was bad in the first place. Like, they rolled up, demanded she marry them, and then overindulged from day one, and then they keep staying, and they keep doing this all day, every day. They reduce a woman, their queen, to being unable to sleep in her own home, to being unable to trust the servants around her, these people who, as we've seen from how, Eumaeus gets treated, how we will see even how Eurycleia speaks to Penelope and even to Telemachus. The servants who've been with the house, they are valued. They are treated extremely well. Excuse me. Oh, that is my bladder. Thank you so much. Like a Stanford bashing. Yeah, and the fact that they are told no so many times. So many times. And they don't care. They don't care. Because what she wants, what she thinks, what she says, does not matter to them. At all. This one moral constant of this universe means nothing to them. They're abusers. Let's use the word. It's what they are. Exactly what they are. And some of them, like Amphinomus, may think they are nice guys. Cool story, bro. Still abuse. You're still doomed to die. Oh my God, really? Stanford messed up he doesn't think they sleep in Diocles' house? Like, that's the whole point of the stop! Oh my God, how do you mess up the chronology that bad? Yeah, I mean, if anything, that'd be as close as you get, but they are all disruptions. They disrupt the natural order. They disrupt everything about Ithaca. They are a group, ultimately, who are all equal in their destruction, in their disruption, in their sin, in their violence. Because what they are doing is implicit violence. It's not physical violence, but it is implicit. It's emotional, psychological violence. And they all will die because of it. Mary, you're back. Has your internet figured itself out? Yes, Peg is here. We had Bennett for a brief period, but it was much insanity. Yes, welcome to the Boast Book Club chats. Mary is here. Bennett, come on. Can you lie down, puppy? Nothing more fragile than just a man's ego. Really. Yeah, it's even worse that he's trying to put on this veneer of, but I'm the nice guy. No, you're not. No, you're not. And claiming he is makes it even more vile, in my opinion. Yes, we were discussing some of the suitors, Mary. Welcome. When in doubt, blame the patriarchy. When in doubt, just blame them. Because we've seen examples of good Xenia. So, like, it's not even just the patriarchy. It's just also they're awful human beings. But yeah, also when in doubt, usually you blame the patriarchy for something. Iris is all right. Pain is fading. Seems like just a tendon snapping in place, then hurting from the hyperextension. Ooh, okay. You know the drill. Rice, rest, ice, compression, elevation. Take it easy on the wrist. Okay, beyond that, questions for book 1 to 15. I mean, yeah. As the member of the male gender. Yes, I apologize to all the men in the chat, but yeah. Yeah, any more questions? Book 1 to 15. And then I'll open it up to more sort of random questions. But I'm a nice guy. Yeah, I know. Yes, because they believe, and again, they don't, these suitors don't see Penelope as a person. She's property. They don't care that they're hurting her. She's something they want to own and possess. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. If you were really a good person, if you were a proper Greek, you would have left the moment your host told you no, and it was clear it was not going to change. You leave. The moment you're told no, you leave. Exactly. Real Greeks practice good, Xenia. Amen. Any more questions, books 1 to 15 of the Odyssey, and then I'll kind of open it up again for more general questions. Sorry, is the rocking bothering you? All right. Go on. Oh, yeah, I can sit cross-legged. Okay, I'll open it up to more like general questions outside of the Odyssey then. Yeah, all my homies practice good, Xenia. Amen. Yeah, exactly. None of these men stay because they think they can actually change your mind. They want to force Penelope to change her mind. It's all about taking away any of her autonomy, any of her sense of choice. It's awful. Introvert Sarah. Sarah's question about the Wilson translation was the whole Aries thing, I think. Am I right, Sarah? Will Peg get a treat for the bingo? Yeah, did we confirm the bingo? You can name 5 BIA songs. BIA? Can you name 5 BIA? What's BIA? I don't know what BIA is, so we have a problem. But yes, did we confirm S's bingo? Because if the bingo is confirmed, I will go cut her a bit of cucumber. And then Mary, what in the heck is BIA? BIA. I fear this is something I should probably know. Dang, it's like Cardi said, BAO. Bow, we're all dead. Oh my god. Remember also, if you have a question, hand raised emoji so that I can see it. And I'm going to, you can start asking questions it was Roman source, rabbit hole, free space, old man, Nestor, Peg snores. Did we get into a rabbit hole? Did we go down a rabbit hole? I can't even remember. It's only been like a couple hours and I can't even remember. I'll assume that it is confirmed and good. Everybody hold tight. You can put questions in the chat while I go get her a little bit of cucumber. Hold please, Peg. We'll get her snack. You want some snack? You want to crunch on a snack? Want some crunch? Come here, Peg. Get them their well-earned bingo snacks. Oh my god, cucumbers in the chat. Yeah. We see it? Oh, these are beautiful. Bennett, I don't even think you like these. You gonna take it? You gonna eat it? Oh, Peg do the crunch. Peg do the crunch. Which translations for Iliad and Odyssey would be good for beginners and for people who have no clue about ancient Greek customs and whatnot? It's very difficult because most translations are not going to take, other than reading the introductions, which I always do recommend and are probably like 40 to 50 pages long, those are going to be the things that try to introduce you to the Greek culture and customs and stuff like that. The translations themselves aren't going to take the time to do that for you, except maybe in footnotes. We're reading Fagles. I love Fagles, and his introductions are done, and notes are done by Bernard Knox, who's a wonderful classicist, so they are worth it. Fitzgerald is very poetic and wonderful. Lattimore, I don't remember who does his introductions, so I like Lattimore, and he's used a lot in study in translation. But it's really like, these are not easy texts to read when you've got like no context and you don't take the time to read the introductions, which I get are very dry and difficult, but they help. Eating cucumbers together, chomp, chomp, chomp. What was the fabric? Oh, the fabric was at the beginning. That's a little bit of a cheat, but we'll count it. Was Poseidon on good, very friendly terms with any of the other gods, or was it more a neutral to dislike scale? He always seems to do. He was on good terms with pretty much all the gods. Like, yeah, he had a rivalry, you could say, with Athena. But he was never on really bad terms with any of the gods. The only one who's really on, like, nobody can stand him terms is basically Ares with everyone except for Aphrodite. And he's testy, but they're all testy. But yeah, so Izzy, it's very tough for me to try and recommend translations and be like, this is an easier one. Are you good with especially when it's like, you want something that'll educate you on all the customs and all kind of like the background info. Again, Fagles, I really love the introductions and notes by Bernard Knox. He's pretty thorough in a lot of what he does. Again, the intro for this alone is quite lengthy, and he does his best to like break down a lot of stuff. And I can't remember who does it for Fitzgerald, but the poetry of Fitzgerald is so good that I bet and Fitzgerald is so well known as an amazing translator, I bet he had somebody amazing doing his introduction. Beyond that, it's kind of hard because again, it's like if you don't know, you will likely have to go look stuff up anyway. Try looking up annotated versions, read the intro. Yeah, I always say, always read the intros if you can, which is why I'm like trying to, I wish I remembered who does the intro. Actually, let me look. You're welcome. I actually want to see who does the introduction for let me see, Fitzgerald Odyssey translator. Who does the intro? And if they're by the author, they'll also be good, but I'm curious. Fagles translation. I already know who does Fagles. I don't know who does Fitzgerald. Let me see the paperback. Tell me who does the introductory notes. The Bullion Prize, Fitzgerald's postscript. He might do. The noted. No, who did the introduction? That's my question. Fitzgerald might have done his own introduction. D.S. Carn Ross. So you can get either Seamus Heaney or D.S. Carney Ross. Great introductions either way. But yeah, it really is how good is their introduction, how thorough are either their annotations or their footnotes and everything else. That's going to be the best way to get context on the era. And even then, you might still have to go look up stuff. Yeah, and I don't know of an annotated version off the top of my head. I don't know like who would have done the translation of the annotated version. Your copy says Seamus Heaney. Yeah, there was another version that specifically had D.S. Carney Ross, but Seamus Heaney does a great introduction as well from what I remember. I would say these streams are the best. Well, I'm not an expert, so I've got gaps in my knowledge. There's stuff I can get wrong or just like frankly not know. So if you've got a classicist who's like devoted so much of their life to studying this in a way that I haven't, and who can also provide context sometimes even in the Greek. Sorry, Bennett did not care for his cucumbers, so Peg waited until he abandoned it and just came in like a poacher and took it. I'm so proud. Power of taking notes to research, yeah, and ask questions, always. And looking it up later if you have to, like why XYZ, and don't just listen to the Google AI, like try to find best you can. It's very rewarding, it's very rich. Obviously, these are stories that are very tied to the context of the age in which they're being told. If it's also, sometimes again, also remembering these are an oral tradition. It's like trying to read Shakespeare versus hearing it spoken aloud. These were designed to be heard, and I think that does help. And yes, the Fagles translation, which we're using here, is narrated by Sir Ian McKellen, which is pretty stellar. The Fitzgerald version, which is also beautifully poetic, and would arguably even more so captures the poetry of the text, is done by Dan Stevens, and he actually does a great job. Oh, I wish I could turn off the AI suggestions on Google so much. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care what you have to say. I would rather hunt through and research myself. Like, good God, I did not learn how to research stuff on the internet just for AI to try and swoop in and do it for me. I don't need you, because you're not always correct anyway. Yes, ma'am. Oh, audiobook for the Iliad by Fitzgerald. I think, is that one also done by Dan Stevens? I think he did both the Fitzgerald translations. He does a wonderful job. The Iliad is fun. Has Fagles done translations of plays as well? He has done the Oresteia, I think. That might actually be Fitzgerald. Oh. Yeah, boycott AI. I agree. Generative AI especially. I think he did. Or it might have been Oedipus Tyrannus. No, I think he did do the Oresteia. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did. Yeah, he has done the Oresteia. I don't know if he's done any other plays. Those, I just happen to know he did those ones. Oh, Derek Jacobi and Maria Tucci. Oh, Derek Jacobi, great choice. Yeah, Dan Stevens does the Fitzgerald. Excellent. Yeah, no, Dan Stevens actually really does do a nice job. But yeah, so Fagles did do at least the Oresteia. If he did others, I have not seen copies of them.